Hey guys, this is Coach Kenner. Just wanted to welcome you back to the 2020-2021 school year. Hope you've enjoyed your time off. Hope you're ready to get back to learning. I know, we as teachers, we're excited to see your faces, even though it's going to be a little different. We're going to make the most of the situation. Education is important. Education is the way that you improve your circumstances and your environment throughout your life. So, today we're going to talk just a little bit about email etiquette. During this virtual learning, a lot of your communication is going to consist of sending and receiving emails to teachers, administrators, fellow students, and a lot of our communication is going to be done that way. So, that being the case, we're going to talk about a few things that you could do to appear more professional and to clearly communicate with your professors or teachers or administrators, whoever your intended audience may be. The first thing when I think about email or anything that takes place on the internet is nothing is confidential. Once you hit send or once you hit post on those social media posts, those things don't go away. So, just be aware of that when you type up that email and maybe you're angry in the moment or maybe you're a little upset because, that teacher put that grade in incorrectly or hasn't graded your assignment. Just be aware of how you may come across. Some of the things to think about in regards to that are the overuse of exclamation points. I know I see a lot of posts on social media, and you probably do too, where you'll see a post that someone has typed it in all caps, or someone sends you a text message in all caps, or at the end of every line, there's an exclamation point. Well, I don't know about you, but I feel like someone's yelling at me, and it immediately makes me kind of angry. So, just be aware of that. Use a period. Don't overuse exclamation points. Make sure your caps lock button is off. And those are just a couple things to prevent your user from maybe misinterpreting your tone. Oftentimes we receive a text and maybe the recipient will think that, hey, so-and-so's angry at me, because of the way the text message is written. Unfortunately, there's no tone of voice that, you would have in person in that text message or email. So, just be conscious of that. Just be conscious of how that person may interpret your message, especially a teacher. This is different for us also. So, we're going to go out of our way to accommodate you and your needs, but, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a little different. In every class, we don't just have one student. We have more students than just you. So, in understanding that, we're going to get back to you in a timely manner as soon as possible. So be patient with us. Like I said, it's going to be an adjustment for us as well. Be cautious with humor and slang. People from a different cultural background than you may misinterpret a message when you were intended to be funny, and maybe they take it personal. And that's just not something you want to do in a professional environment, whether it be, a business workplace in the future or you as a student here in this school district. So, just be cautious when you use humor or slang. I know, in speaking of my personal situation, just in terms of being understood, my wife's from Northern Kentucky, I'm from Eastern Kentucky. I go in Walmart, I get a buggy. She always gives me a hard time because, she gets a cart. She calls it a cart. So just understand that depending on where you're from or different cultural background, they may misinterpret your slang or your dialect. So, understand that when you hit send on that email and just double check for accuracy. Also, one of the things that I like to do before I hit send on a text message, an email, a social media post is I always try to proofread. One of the things that, I always have my wife maybe take my phone and proofread, that statement or that post. Just for grammar, punctuation. I sometimes on Twitter, I get in a hurry and I'll reply to a tweet and, just typing while I'm sitting in a busy moment and it'll have a mistake, a grammar mistake, a punctuation mistake. In an education as a student, you don't want to do that. So make sure you double check, proofread your emails, proofread your posts in Google Classroom and just double check to be sure that those things are created accurately. The one thing that I do also, just from a security standpoint, I enter the email address of the recipient last. And the reason I do that is so that I have time to proofread and that I don't get in a hurry and hit send before that email is ready to be sent. Because, I want that I want that recipient to clearly understand my message and my concern, and to be able to respond adequately, I need to clearly communicate. The last thing that you always see is people like different fonts. They like to tweak things to their personal preference, and you want to be careful when you use some of the fonts that are maybe a little difficult to read. As you get older, some of us have to wear glasses, and that being the case, some fonts are harder for us to understand or interpret. And that being the case, I would stay with a clear, concise font like Times New Roman, something along those lines that no matter who the recipient may be, they have no trouble understanding that font. And also be aware of your font size. Most people are going to stick with a 12-point font just because that is easy for the user to read and understand. Also in that email, when you enter the subject line, for that recipient to understand or maybe get to your message faster, a clear and concise subject line is vital. A subject line that's written in all caps or all lowercase letters can sometimes be caught by spam filters and filtered to the spam folder in your email. So that being the case, let's use proper capitalization in that subject line just so that it doesn't get caught by that spam filter. And also, in that subject line, maybe you're concerned about an assignment that a teacher hasn't gotten a grade in for yet. So when you email about that assignment, make sure that subject line is clear and concise so the recipient can clearly understand the message that you're trying to convey. And lastly, let's talk just a little bit about a signature line. That's something you can add ahead of time so that your personal information, your contact information, maybe a picture, maybe a quote, can all be added ahead of time so that whoever you're sending that to, that recipient, clearly understands what person sent that message to them and how to get back in touch with them. And also maybe if it's someone that you don't know, a picture or a quote, maybe gives them a little better look at you and who you are. So in that situation, you may want to include those things, and we're going to talk about those just in a second. As far as when you first begin to start the email, always salute a teacher, professor, administrator, Mr., Mrs., Miss, professor, comma, something professionally. As you can see here, it just goes across so much better when you start that email with a little bit of respect for that person and that position that you're trying to communicate with. Mail.google.com. All of you should have credentials to access a mail account. And, let's talk about a few things in terms of setting up that signature that you can do to make yours appear just a little bit more professional. And once we log into our email, we're going to find a little settings gear up here to the right. We're going to click on that settings. We're going to click on all settings. We've got quite a few settings there. We're going to go over to the general tab. And on the general tab, you've got several other settings here that you can mess with. But the one that we're going to focus on today is we're going to scroll down on the general tab and we're going to scroll down to my signature. Now you can see that I already have one in there. The first thing that I want to do is I always want to include thanks or thank you, comma, and then my name. Also as an educator, I'm going to include my title, the things that I teach, the address of the school, contact information, anything that someone may need to get in touch with me, especially a student. I want them to clearly understand how to get back in touch with me if I send them an email. As a teacher, we've also got our icon. You can change your icon in your Google settings. That's entirely up to you. And one of the things that I choose to do down here at the bottom is I've included a quote. And that quote just goes along with some of the things that I believe and just kind of gives you an impression of maybe who I am. I've got nobody who ever gave his best regretted it. And that's something I truly believe. And the one thing that you want to be conscious of, again, we don't want to have too many fonts. We want this to be clearly understood. Certain things I've got italicized, my quotes italicized, my name and thanks is and then down here, I've got all my font in blue. Again, just personal preference, and that's entirely up to you. You can have multiple signatures. You can see create new. I can create another signature that maybe I use in a different format. You can see the font that I've chosen is really easy to understand. Nobody's going to have any trouble reading or interpreting my message. And then also you've got some settings as far as when you use when it automatically uses that signature in your emails. And then lastly, down here at the bottom, I'm just going to hit Save Changes, and that's all I need to do. So hopefully that helped. Hopefully everyone spent a little time today preparing for school tomorrow by logging into that email, getting your Google Class codes, getting any other pertinent information from those educators. I know that's probably the main channel of communication now during this virtual environment that we're all enduring. So if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email. My email is jason.kenner@paintsville.kyschools.us. I'd be happy to help. Hope you have a great day.